Welcome to the Life Tracks Podcast. I'm your host, Marvin Bryson. For me, podcasting represents a modern take on oral storytelling traditions. Being born in the very last year of the baby boom, I'm closing in on retirement and have grown comfortable in embracing my role of elder in hopes that future generations might benefit from my experiences. An extra added bonus is that part of my history will also be available for my grandchildren should they want to know more about their pop-pop. As a teen, I landed my first paying gig as a musician. The year was 1979, so I have more than 40 years of stories to share in that venue. My music business background came into play because it informed my first motion picture gig as a music supervisor in 2001. The film was Blue Moon, the late great director Xavier Green's Howard University Fine Arts thesis project. Blue Moon aired on Showtime and marked the debut of notable comedic actress Coco Brown. From there, I focused on motion picture editing, completed a great Avid editing program, and moved to Hollywood. Over the past 20 years, I have compiled over 200 credits on roughly 20 television series and films. So without further ado, let's get into track 6, Best Laid Plans. Even though the LA experience wasn't what I thought it would be, I developed even more self-confidence from the trying. After all, landing a couple of jobs, including the one at Paramount Studios in one of the most competitive cities in the world, was a positive. Moving forward, most of my friends that were making good money at the time were working in the information technology field. Moreover, my brother owned his own company and had given me my first personal computer years earlier. So I set my sights on an IT job. However, given my lack of a college degree, I knew my best chance of landing an IT job was to exploit my healthcare experience to get my foot in the door someplace and then transfer to IT. Working on the payer side of healthcare can be disconcerting in that performance evaluations are largely statistics-based, meaning errors, attendance, and the like are based on averages. I remember one of my evaluations where I had above average numbers regarding accuracy in claims processing, but had surpassed the threshold for tardiness due to 2 instances in a 6-month period. Statistically, 1.75 instances or some inane figure like that regarding being late was the acceptable number. With this in mind, I was determined to find an organization where they use common sense along with metrics to evaluate staff. After several interviews with institutional carriers, I landed an interview with a boutique medical marketing firm regarding a reimbursement analyst opening. The job involved assisting pharmaceutical sales reps obtain reimbursement information for newly approved FDA drugs, while also administering free drug programs for folks that didn't have insurance or couldn't afford the cost of prescriptions. Seems we were a key piece of the puzzle in getting the latest cancer and AIDS drugs to the public. My final interview was with the CEO, and he was enthusiastic regarding my desire to move into IT at some point. I got the job and enrolled in a paralegal program at the junior college I attended. Being an attorney was an unspoken dream of mine, not to mention that the paralegal track provided a quick reward, having 2 tiers, one being a letter of recognition and 2 being a certificate. Taking 2 courses a semester, I did well and obtained my letter of recognition within a year with an A average. But I also found out that I wanted nothing to do with the legal system, 0. Law has very little to do with common sense or decency. I found it to be more about suppression, questionable ethics, egos, and arrogance in the often lauded search for the truth. In any event, having laid low for over a year and taken positive steps toward achieving my goals, the next step was the girl. My old band, 495, was playing at their record label's inaugural showcase and invited me out. It had been nearly 2 years since I left the group, but things remained copacetic. In fact, Al introduced me to Maria when they were co-workers, and he remains one of my closest friends to this day. So I felt like inviting her to accompany me to the showcase would be perfect. The guys performed well, and Maria asked me if I was okay afterwards, and I said sure. Like with Tony Marcus and Terrence before, I was happy to see my former bandmates experiencing success. Anyone that pursues creative endeavors in life will always have situations where they pass on a project that turns out to be successful. It's simply part of the landscape. After the show, we congratulated the guys and left. Once we were outside, I figured now's the time. But in my mind, I was freaking out, saying, are you really going to do this? In that moment, I understood just how radical the ideal of sharing every aspect and every decision of your life with someone truly is. I'm old school and like to open the car door for my dates, so Maria was used to that. But when I got down on one knee, she was like, what are you doing? I swallowed hard and asked her to marry me. She got emotional and started to tear up some, so I thought I was in there. When she said I can't, I was floored. I got up and we started to talk. Essentially, she felt like I was going back to LA at some point, no matter what I said, and she didn't want to leave DC. I assured her that I was done trying to be a professional musician or even gig regularly as a side hustle. She wasn't buying what I was selling. So we stopped seeing each other and I focused on my work, and things were good at work. With the company being small, I was also asked to manage the firm's computer, hardware, and software inventories, back up the IT specialist / phone guy. It was all part of the job. The research, analysis, and most importantly, writing skills I obtained in my paralegal studies paid off in spades, as I could easily break down a business case and provide a solution in writing. I also received my first budget for purchasing, being my journey into learning how to manage a business's budget. The company grew rapidly over the next 18 months or so, and so did my budget and responsibilities. We grew to the point where we expanded the telephone system to a service bureau call center setup with 20 or 30 analysts. I was involved in analyzing the company's requirements and choosing the system, a 6-figure purchase. At that point, telecom and IT required their own dedicated resource. A dedicated database manager came on board along with a local area network specialist. The change was a little too radical for the phone / IT guy, so he resigned from the company, and I was offered the option to A, stay in my current position and wait for an IT job to open up, or B, take over for the phone guy, but also help out in IT. It was a no-brainer for me. Telecom is much more stable than IT. In addition, it was just important to operations, but didn't necessarily move as fast regarding software upgrades, service patches, and hardware upgrades. I would later find out that my choice was the right one when the idea of convergence or the merging of voice and data communications came about. Basically, I was developing expertise in wide area networks that exploded as the internet took off. Over the next 7 years or so, my life completely changed professionally and personally. Shortly after I proposed to Maria, I went to visit my mom. She gave me the 3rd degree about having a baby, and I honestly didn't know what she was talking about. Seems one of my high school trysts from 10 years earlier came by to talk to my mom and left a number for me to call. We connected, and I entered what was to be the most profound and important part of my life, being a dad. I'm not going to get into much detail about that. This podcast is intended to be a personal look at my professional life, not the other way around. Moving forward, the company grew from a staff of 30 or so to well over 100, with its value equally increasing. During this time, the IT department grew to 8 or so, and I was promoted to assistant manager, mostly due to my communications and people skills. Being a military kid often facilitates that. In any event, I had the good fortune to see and learn how to manage a growing business, racking up several bonuses and an Employee of the Year award along the way. Then in late August, when I was taking a staycation, I got a call requesting that I come into the office immediately. Once there, I found out that we were being acquired by a multi-billion-dollar international clinical research firm. That's a billion with a B. At the consulting firm, I felt like I was part of something special, hence my use of the word we. The overwhelming opportunities, fast-paced living, and harsh realities of being a junior executive at a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded international firm were headed my way. The experience informed my outlook on my life's priorities forever.